Welcome to See You on the Other Side, where the world of the mysterious collides with the world of entertainment. A discussion of art, music, movies, spirituality, the weird, and self-discovery. And now, your hosts, musicians and entertainers who have their own weakness for the weird, Mike and Wendy from the band Sunspot.
Greetings, everybody, from Menominee Falls, Wisconsin.
Live on location from the very exciting Holiday Inn Express.
That's right. Wendy and I are at the Holiday Inn Express. We're staying over in Menominee Falls. We're at a recording studio, Cherry Pit Recording Studios, working on finishing touches on our latest album.
Yes. Very, very exciting stuff. And the songs that we're recording, Mike, were all written directly from topics of this podcast.
That's right. So the thing is, if you guys are listening to the podcast and you hear the song at the end and you like it, let us know, because we will use that and then take it into the big studio and have it professionally recorded with a producer and the whole deal.
Give it the full treatment as opposed to just the demo treatment.
Right. Because the thing is, we can't take every song and into the studio every week. Because,
although it'd be fun if we could.
Well, sure. But the thing is that we want to make sure to give the best of those tracks.
Yeah, the ones that people like the most are the ones that we want to, give the full studio treatment to and then have on our album.
And so we're just finishing up that next album of songs that are based on songs we wrote for the podcast. And we've been doing this now for 3 years.
Yeah.
A little over 3 years. Well, that's the fun part, too, because I was just realizing that we're on episode 183.
Goodness.
We started on Halloween of 2014.
That's right. I remember that night because we had a show at the Claddagh in Middleton. And I was checking because I uploaded the episodes and I was checking to make sure everything, to see if anybody was downloading them and if everything went correctly.
And since then, we've had, obviously 182 episodes. But also, if you check our Bandcamp page for the See on the Other Side songs, we have over 100 original songs we've written.
Just for this.
Yes. Every episode has a original song. But the thing is, we've used older songs for some episodes because the topics fit.
Yeah.
But we've written over 100 songs for this podcast. And the best of those songs make it to the Sunspot albums. So that's what we're doing here this weekend. We're in Menominee Falls, and we are in the recording studio and having fun. And we are recording the songs that you guys said that you liked the best on the podcast. So if you enjoyed any of this stuff, please send us a tweet. It's the fastest way to do it. At Other Side Talk, at Sunspot Music. You can tweet me individually. Just pics of your junk, please.
Oh, gosh. You didn't just...
I opened myself up to this.
You did just...
It's a can of worms, might you say?
Yes, and I'm at Sunspot Wendy. Just send me pictures of birds.
Yeah, or your junk. At Sunspot Mike, that's where the junk pictures go. I will take all your Carlos Danger shots.
But just getting back to it, we don't talk about it a ton, but the fact that the music is a really huge part of this podcast, it's a thing that we spend a lot of the time on, and it is at the end of the episode that we share the song, so if you don't tough it out all the way to the end, you might miss it.
Right, it's original music. The funny part is that everyone's like, oh yeah, well, you talk about this. So all the research we put into the interview time, even the prep and things like that, that takes less time than it does in writing this.
Oh, that's true.
Creating something around a topic.
Yeah. But for the people that aren't as familiar with our band, we have been together as a band for a really long time, approximately 1,000 years, right?
I would say, right. I have... My hair is... I look like Gandalf the Grey right now. So if you see a picture of Mike... you see this picture, you're like, oh, he's got maybe a red beard or something like that. No, I am Gandalf the Grey.
There, he dyes his beard.
Just for men.
You buy the ginger beard
just for
color.
Men. I was going to say just for men ginger. That's what I buy. Do any gingers dye their hair?
Are you kidding me? The majority of gingers our age...
I guess they do.
Probably
I was thinking about people that dye their hair, and I'm like, because I was always ready. I'm ready to dye my hair. The first day, when I go bald, I'm gonna get a wig.
Cool. What kind of wig?
Well, it's gonna be different every day of the week.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
So that's the whole idea. So when I end up like William Shatner,
variety.
So William Shatner's been bald obviously since probably the mid '70s, if not the '60s. Because if you look at his hair on T.J. Hooker, it's like curly, like he had a perm. And you look at his hair in Star Trek, and it's straight. And you look at his hair today, and it's obviously penciled on by an expert. I love William Shatner. We all love the Shat.
How could you not?
But the thing is, I mean, obviously his hair is fake. And so he embraced it early. He's like, I don't care. I'm just going to get a curly wig today. And then I'm going to have like kind of like a weird, fro.
Sure, variety. It's exciting. It's fun.
That's me. Like one day I'm going to be Billy Corgan bald.
Oh my
Except
gosh.
maybe not as much of a cue ball head. Because once you go bald, you got to lose weight fast.
Okay. Well, we seem to have gotten a bit off topic here, but getting back to the fact of, our band having been together for a really long time, we've written lots and lots of songs, and we've covered lots and lots of ground and lots of different topics.
Oh, yeah.
But this podcast has been wonderful because there's so many unique topics that have been here to inspire us to write songs.
Yeah. Constantly. It's like every week. That is like our burden.
And there are things
our blessing.
Yeah, there are things that, you wouldn't just sit and be like, oh, I'm going to write a song about
the Salem witch trial. But no, today you are.
Yeah. And so that's a really fun part of the podcast that ties back into the band. We don't talk about it too much. So I thought since we're here, we spent all day recording, and now is a good time to let people know that although we do talk about paranormal things, we also use those things as inspiration for musical creation. So
and that is why we are in it, is to create new exciting content about paranormal stuff. Because a lot of paranormal podcasts, nobody else writes a song every week. So they don't. And so that's the See You on the Other Side specialty.
Yes.
And you guys can see all that stuff, sunspot.bandcamp.com.
Right.
You can see
all the demos are up there.
Right, for now. We're probably going to move them to our Patreon community soon. But we'll talk about that at the end of the podcast. Anyway, since we're talking about music a lot today, Wendy, did you watch the Super Bowl last weekend?
I didn't really watch it. I had it on in the background, and then I watched the halftime show.
Okay, and that's the part I want to talk about. So you watched the halftime show.
Yeah, which, by the way, I mean, it just strikes me as so funny that they have a musical halftime show.
Yeah.
Is that to try to make everybody feel included, or
Well, no, I think with the musical is they want to bring an element of celebrity to it. They want to bring an element of excitement. Because the original halftime shows of the Super Bowl were just
cheerleaders,
college bands and cheerleaders.
Oh, okay.
Like not college bands, but like college marching bands.
Yeah, okay.
So the halftime show as a spectacle
I see.
really developed in the 90s. Because then for television,
they
were making a special. So other stations used to have like alternate halftime shows. So if you're watching the Super Bowl, they would say like, okay, instead of watching the Super Bowl's halftime show,
switch over here.
We're gonna put on, like, I remember In Living Color, so Fox put on an alternate halftime show in the early 90s, and then it'd be Keenen Ivory Wayans and Jim Carrey and everybody doing jokes at their halftime show, and it was an alternative one, and it was way cooler than what the official Super Bowl halftime show was. So since then, the Super Bowl's gone, or the NFL has gone above and beyond to try
to keep people in
an
there.
Incredible halftime show to keep people watching.
Well, I was thinking about this because, I mean, unless the Packers are in the Super Bowl, which hasn't happened in a while.
In too long.
Exactly. I don't pay any attention at all.
Yeah, I don't even know the other quarterbacks or whatever.
But of course I'm going to watch the halftime show. I mean,
right.
Because it's cool and entertaining, and they always have the neat special effects and everything. So I just thought it was funny because I'm like, that's kind of weird because typically, friends of ours in the music scene, and everybody always makes fun of, sports ball, points ball, whatever. Right. But the fact that that's what they choose to have as the entertainment for all those people that are there for a sporting event.
But it's funny. So when the Red Hot Chili Peppers did it, they admitted that they just lip sync.
Sure,
they lip sync their music. So here's how I discovered how sound works in a stadium. Remember, there's a movie called Major League.
Yes.
1987.
Fun fact, I'm an extra in it.
Fun
so
fact,
are
me
you?
Too. So Major League was shot at County Stadium, Milwaukee. Yes. So they turned County Stadium for a few days that summer of probably 1986, 1987, I can't remember exactly. But either one of those summers, they turned County Stadium into the Cleveland Indians Stadium.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was the Major League team. They had Bob Uecker was featured in the movie, and Bob Uecker is obviously a famous Milwaukee guy.
The best.
Yeah, we love Bob.
And he's
Uecker.
On Mr. Belvedere, so I mean, come on.
That's right. Everybody loves Bob Uecker. And so they're shooting Major League in Milwaukee. And they do this contest one of the days of like an impression contest. Who can do an impression? I'm like 10 years old.
Oh boy,
and
here it comes.
And I'm like, I can do Robin Leach. So Robin Leach had a show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
I remember.
And so like I used to imitate, I'm Robin Leach and this is Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Wait, wasn't it more like, I'm Robin Leach.
Well, I was a
10-year-old Mike.
10-year-old
Yeah.
Mike imitating Robin Leach.
That's cute.
And so I used to watch Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and so I would imitate him. And so they had like, who can do celebrity impersonation? And they had like 4 people come up. And so I raised my hand, and we were all extras sitting in the crowd all day. And they
Yeah.
did not make it a pleasant
Oh.
experience.
Was Alan Thicke the MC when you did it?
Not that day, I don't think. I would have known Alan Thicke because obviously Growing Pains.
Yeah, he was the MC the day that I was there.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it was.
What? We were there like 3 or 4 days. We did not see Alan
No?
Thicke. I got Wesley Snipes' autograph.
Whoa, hey-o.
And I think Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was pretty cool. Like everybody was like Corbin
Yeah.
Burnson, Charlie Sheen, Wesley Snipes was Willie Mays Hayes.
I think
like,
I got Derringer? Rick Derringer?
Rick Derringer,
Yeah.
rock and roll. No, you're thinking of Tom Berenger.
Tom Berenger.
Tom Berenger. Rick Derringer is the rock and roll hoochie coo guy.
This is why I don't do well in trivia. God.
But okay, but the thing is, so Major League shot in Milwaukee. You know, you only have so many movies shot in our hometown.
Right.
So we go, and my dad was a teacher, so we had the summers off, so we could go and hang out.
Fun.
And the thing is, like, the extras didn't get anything. Like,
No.
they did give like 1 car away a day. Like, they gave a car away every day.
And they were like tossing out little trinket prizes and
Candy.
yeah.
This was okay, we'll get to my story in a second, but this was the first time I discovered how adults could be worse than kids. Because when they would throw out candy,
Elbows.
like adults were sitting there fighting each other over
Oh my
candy.
gosh, are you kidding me?
And I'm like, all of a sudden, this becomes like a
Like a
George
brawl.
Romero Night of the Living Dead movie, like
Oh,
where
no.
people turn on each other over candy.
Well, that's because that's all they were getting. They're starving.
Right? And they were starving,
Feed
like,
the
and people were throwing out candy, and people like this like 40-year-old woman, and I'm 10, right? This 40-year-old woman like grabs a piece of candy from the air, and she goes, "Ha ha, sucker!" And I'm like, "What did I do to you?"
Oh, Karma's
And-
going to get her back
Right,
so
and
bad.
the only thing I could think was like, "Well, you're gonna die way before me."
Well, okay.
So I go up there and I do my Robin Leach impersonation. There's like 4 of us. And these people really, their impersonations, I was 10 years old and they were crap. And I'm like, but my Robin Leach, I knew it was
Spot on.
I knew it was pretty good.
All right.
But I get there and I talk into the microphone inside the stadium.
Oh, no.
And I did not understand
Because you could hear the echo
the
of
physics of the
Yeah.
echo and the fact that the speed of sound
goodness.
hits the other side of the auditorium
Yep.
before you hear your voice.
Yeah, you have to like cover your ears so you can't.
So this is much like something that happened to Prince later on, and we'll get to in a second. We'll start talking about the purple one. But I just biffed it on stage.
Aww,
This is my
poor
first.
little
This is my
Mike.
first chance in front of tens of thousands of people, and I
Wow.
I made it to the end of the impression. You know, like I had a
Yeah.
little this lifestyle version of Robin Leach, and today we see the richest of the stars and the fanciest
Yeah.
of the. You know, like I had maybe a 20-second thing, and I thought about it in my head,
Sure.
and so I had it ready to go. When I walked down on stage, I'm like, I got this. But the thing is that when I heard the voice
Yeah, it'll
bouncing
mess
back,
you up really bad. Well, I gotta hand it to you. You didn't let that keep you down. You got back up on stage, and
and I
thank
still
goodness
do it today.
Yes.
But the thing is, so that is why they lip sync at the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah. Well, and also the technical aspects of we know with our band, half of the tiny little clubs that we play in can't
Yeah.
make a good sounding thing out of a live concert. So how on earth?
You're playing in the local crap hole for 100 people, and these guys can't get the sound together. Like, there's 50 or
Right.
8 to 80,000
And it's
people.
in a stadium where there's a 360 degrees of people all around you. It's not just sound pointing in one direction. So, I mean, of course. The whole lip syncing thing, whatever, I'm fine. I mean, I get it.
So the Chili Peppers thought they did a good job. The last Packers Super Bowl where they had the Black Eyed Peas.
That was cool.
Yeah, when Slash came, it was doubly cool.
Oh, gosh, yeah, that was awesome.
But I think that everybody thinks that the greatest Super Bowl performance of all time was Prince.
I mean, I definitely do.
Yeah.
I wept during that performance when he was playing Purple Rain and it started raining. Like it actually started raining. It was as if
unbelievable.
a supernatural force was in on the concert.
You know, it's funny because I was listening. So Wendy and I were in the fitness room at the hotel today, and we were running. And so while we were running,
Sunspot workout hour.
it was a Sunspot workout. So it was funny because a couple of times on my iPhone, Sunspot songs would come up. So I'm running to Sunspot songs while Wendy and I are working out, in the same room, and listening to
man.
us sing.
Such
and I'm like,
egomaniacs.
This is a weird situation.
It's so meta, dude.
It was. I'm working at our music while we're working out. Like, yeah. It was kind of like it was like a performance. But the thing is, I was also listening to a podcast from AJ Benza. AJ Benza is a guy who used to have an entertainment E-channel show about like Hollywood gossip and things. He's been a celebrity gossip columnist for 20-something.
Okay.
So, but AJ Benza was talking about Prince's charisma.
Oh, gosh.
And
yeah.
he goes, he doesn't matter about the woman. He goes, Prince could make any woman swoon or cry.
Oh.
So when you say that you're watching
Agreed.
this and you felt something inside,
Yeah.
I was like,
No, it was a powerful performance. I mean, it really was. He didn't let the magnitude of a stadium affect his performance whatsoever. I mean, at least that's how it came across.
He's
Very genuine.
Just an amazing performer. I mean, he got signed when he was like 18. I mean, he mastered like 27 instruments by the time he was 19.
Yeah, incredible.
His first album, Prince plays, and he's got that like cheesy mustache, and he's got that 70s
Oh,
like
it's so awesome.
It's not quite Rick James style hair, but he's got that like longer hair in that original. I mean, he plays every single album.
Yeah.
And when I used to read about musicians and how they practice and stuff, so Prince would, when he was growing up in Minneapolis, he would stay in at recess and just practice piano or practice every instrument. Like he would stay, he would stay in.
sweet.
He would shun his friends and
He would rather play with the instrument than...
then play with other kids.
Okay.
And that's how he
Went into the right career then.
But I think about that Super Bowl performance, and that I think it was the last time that Prince, like, he captured the entire
Oh my gosh.
consciousness,
It
and
was-
everybody remembered
Great.
that Prince was this incredible major talent that bridged rock and pop. He can play guitar like Jimi Hendrix, and he brings the rock aspect of it. And by the time you get to the 80s, it's just, I mean, things are moving into R&B where it's not guitar solos, it's not, and he bridges that stuff between hard rock guitar solos and synth and R&B and everything and brings it all together. Mm-hmm. And to say Prince could make women swoon, Allison cannot join us today, my sister.
I was laughing because when you said making people swoon, like she would be swooning too much to be able to discuss.
Allison, like she doesn't remember this stuff anymore.
I love this though.
No, number one. So, I mean, Prince was her favorite.
Are you going to out her now about everything?
Yeah.
Oh boy,
He was
here
her
it
favorite.
comes.
She painted her room purple
That's
because
magnificent.
Prince was
I
her
love that.
favorite.
That's so cute.
So, she's in like junior high going into high school, and Purple Rain, but she had the albums before Purple Rain, too. She had like
Sure.
Controversies, The Sign of the Times. She had 1999. And so this is what's great about Allison. Like, she wanted to have a music system so bad.
Yeah.
And Allison worked hard, but she wasn't the world's greatest student.
Oh my.
Hey, I'm just saying, she wasn't the world's greatest student. So my parents said, if you get a certain grade point average, we will buy you a stereo, a record player.
Okay.
It had an 8-track on it, too.
That's cool.
So this is what we're talking about. This is
That's really cool.
1982. Had an 8-track.
Vintage.
And so she wanted that record player so bad that she didn't get the grade points. But she was able to, like, very carefully with them. And this is one of like dot matrix print things.
Right.
She was able to change like her D to a B. And that made it so that she was able to get the stereo.
Well, that's what we call ingenuity.
Yeah,
Creativity.
I'm not saying she didn't work hard. I'm just saying she worked hard.
She earned it.
It just wasn't an algebra. And so she changes this. My parents buy the stereo. And we considered calling my mother and bringing her in on this because Allison wasn't available. And I'm like, what would be even better is have my mom
Mike.
tell the story. But
That would have been great, actually.
I didn't want to. I mean, Allison listens. She's going to listen to this show. And she's going to be like, "I hate you." For
Right.
it. So we still want to keep
Oh
things
dear.
cordial.
Family Feud.
All right. But the thing is, that's how I heard Prince's music for the first time. Because it would come and she'd play in her rooms
cool.
were adjoining.
Yeah.
It's like I would just hear it. She'd just play it all the time. So I'd hear all those great albums.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, wow, boy, this music is awesome.
Well, thank goodness
Loved
she had
it.
such good taste.
She did have good taste.
Yeah. Otherwise, you might have been influenced by
Right.
other horrible things that came out during that time period.
Well, right. It could have been all like hair metal and cock rock and stuff like that.
Or like the really cheesy, synth.
Well, she did have like that Lionel Richie like dancing on the ceiling kind of thing. I've actually when we were in college, I've actually borrowed that album and I put it on my I taped it to my ceiling and had the Lionel Richie
That's
hanging.
funny.
But no, so my exposure was through my sister who loved Prince.
Yeah.
Who would talk to my parents sometimes. She'd be like, "Oh yeah," and my dad, because the thing is that Prince was such a if you listen to his music, it was so sexual.
Oh gosh,
like every song is like, "Come on, girl, I'm gonna get on you."
Yeah,
like every song was like but the thing is, because Prince wore makeup, had the frilly shirts, was like a little.
Sure.
Had effeminate.
Yeah, they would call him like Metro or something nowadays, probably.
I don't have metros. Right, exactly. But my dad, he was just like, yeah, obviously Prince has more talent in his pinky finger than I have in my entire body. But he's still kind of girl.
Oh.
But the thing is, this
would be a compliment.
Today. So my exposure to his music, I just loved it. Always loved it. That was one of the first CDs, like when we went to switch to CDs, I bought Purple Rain.
Yeah.
Listened to it, a million times. And I even waited. So I lived in Minneapolis for a couple of years. And my wife and I waited in line at Paisley Park to go see a Prince.
And I'm so jealous that you got to do that. I remember when you were doing that. I'm like, oh.
Because it was on the radio. So we hadn't got an apartment yet. We were just staying in a hotel or whatever before we got an apartment.
Yeah.
And we were in a section of Minneapolis that was close to Chanhassen. And Chanhassen is where Paisley Park was. It's just a suburb of Minneapolis. And, I mean, Minneapolis and St. Paul, their metro area is huge, like 2.5 million people. But there's a ton of suburbs surrounding the downtown area. And so we just hear on the radio, oh, Prince is having a party tonight. It's $50 tickets, but it's a donation to his charitable organization.
Thing to do.
And 1,000 people.
Yeah.
So go.
The first people who get there get to
go. So we waited in line for 4 hours.
It's amazing.
And, like no phones, no alcohol. You had they sold water for $1 a bottle.
Uh-huh.
And you gave your phones at the door or something to give them back to you at the end. Yeah. Which now I'd be like, what? I'm not going to give you my phone. But 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, that's cool. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Prince in...
Right, in his home, in his native environment.
Like seeing him in a club. Like seeing him in it would be like seeing him at the First Ave. Right. You'd see him at the First Ave in the 1980s.
Yep.
So you didn't have to see him at the Super Bowl. You didn't have to see, it was awesome.
That's so cool.
And then when he broke out the guitar, and then soloed and stuff like
that. Made it happen.
I cried. Yeah. Like it was beautiful.
It's powerful.
Like and you have 1,000 people around you just feeling like you're at this special performance. So he had that power to make people feel special.
Very, yeah.
And so I admired his songwriting ability. Everything about Prince is something that I think is something magical.
Yeah.
And obviously people in Minneapolis.
Oh,
when he passed away in April of 2016. That
impacted the city hugely.
Yeah, like people were upset for months.
Yeah.
And let's go over that timeline real quick because we want to get to the thing is we're talking a lot about Prince and stuff. We're not getting to the paranormal stuff or the conspiracy stuff.
Oh, but we will.
But we want to just mention that I kind of want to set up just how important that this artist was in our lives and in other people's lives. And maybe in your life if you're listening to this episode.
Yeah.
He meant something to my sister. He meant something to me. He meant something to my dad. Got more talent than I got my pinky finger, but doesn't mean he should get a perm. You know how old guys talk. So let's go to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. The timeline of his final days. April 7th, 2016. Prince blames the flu, cancels 2 concerts in Atlanta. He's doing a tour where it's just him and a piano.
Which sounds absolutely amazing.
Freaking amazing.
I want to go to
just
that.
Watching Prince sing songs, play a piano. How cool. Dr. Michael Todd Schulenberg, a family practitioner who is treating Prince to help him withdraw from his opioid addiction, sees him on this date on April 7th, 2016. So he blames it on the flu.
Something else going on. Okay.
Yeah. April 14th, a week later, Prince comes back to Atlanta. He fulfills his concerts. April 15th, the next day, 2016. While returning to Minneapolis, Prince's private plane makes an emergency landing in Moline, Illinois. Quad Cities.
Not exactly a destination.
No. Well, to the poor people of the Quad Cities, which is usually regarded as like the worst place in the United States. Like all their crime and their poverty and stuff like that. Sorry, guys. But it's not a destination. He landed because he overdosed on opioids. And so a source says this, that he overdoses on opioids. But people say that it's something else, that he just has exhaustion, that it's just, they had to stop. But the thing is, the people who were emergency responders, they gave him Narcan.
Oh, yeah. That's
an opioid antidote. I mean, Narcan saves people's lives.
Right.
And so he doesn't stay in Moline. He ends up flying back to Minneapolis. But he admits to police that are asking him about the situation that he had taken painkillers.
Aww.
So April 16th, he's got a party at Paisley Park. He's showing people that he still can go. He plays chopsticks in his new purple piano, has a new guitar.
Awesome.
He tells his audience, wait a few days, don't pray for me yet. Don't pray for me yet.
Weird thing to say, huh?
Right. April 19th, Prince attends a concert at the Dakota Jazz Club in Minneapolis.
Okay.
Which I know exactly where it is. I've been to Dakota like a dozen times. So I imagine going to Dakota. Because like Thursdays used to have like $9 bottles of wine.
Yeah.
So the idea that you could go to Dakota and there'd be Prince.
No, I can't imagine.
Oh, yeah. Blow my mind. Okay. April 20th, Prince is talking to his doctor that was prescribing the opioids. And then they contact a guy in California, a California addiction specialist, and says, like, he's got a problem.
Aww,
he's
so
addiction.
sad.
You got to get to Minnesota immediately. Well, April 21st, that's when they find him. Oh. They arrive at Paisley Park, 9:30 a.m. The son of the guy, the doctor that was supposed to come help him with the opioid addiction, and a couple of the staffers, they find his body in an elevator.
Aww.
They call 911, 9:43. Emergency responders arrive 5 minutes later.
Wow, that's fast.
I would say, pronounce him dead by 10:07. And he also tells the investigator he had prescribed oxycodone to be filled at a Walgreens pharmacy. Now, Wendy, didn't you just see something to do with that?
Yeah, actually, when I was in Los Angeles about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Went to the Dearly Departed tour. They have a museum very close to Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And it's all the collection of memorabilia from... It's morbid, as you would expect.
Like you said, they have Jane Mansfield's car.
Yeah, they have the whole... the crashed car. And then they have all kinds of items that were found at the final scenes where various famous people died. And one of the things that was in one of the cases was a Prince Walgreens bag, prescription bag.
Yeah, so it might have been that Walgreens prescription.
Yeah, it might have. It said, I think it said it was the last prescription or whatever. But it's funny because you see these items and then you think about all the circumstances surrounding them.
Well, and here's the thing. So, we talk about opioid addictions and, when people talk about Prince's death, they were trying to figure out 57 years old.
Yeah, pretty young.
Pretty young. He died in an elevator in Paisley Park. He died at his home. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And August of 2016, so 4 months later, pills marked as hydrocodone that were seized from Paisley Park after his death, because the police came when they realized that there were drugs involved, are found to contain fentanyl, indicating that they were counterfeits. A source with knowledge of the investigation told the Star Tribune. So, investigators found no prescriptions for fentanyl, but they did find that some of the pills that he was taking that were prescribed, I don't know if they got them at Walgreens or where they got them, but some of a fentanyl overdose. Just like, so Prince dies of the same thing that your local guy who got hooked on hillbilly heroin dies of, So it just, we talk about the opioid crisis.
Oh, yeah, it's a big one.
And some of our most talented people end up being...
It's tragic. It really is.
And the thing is that heroin overdoses are because we think about, so Jimi Hendrix, heroin overdose. That's a famous death. And there's several, the Dead by 27 Club is all heroin overdose kind of people. And it's because in the early 70s they didn't have Narcan.
Yeah, so they couldn't resuscitate people.
And they also injected. So when you inject, there's no comeback. It's in your bloodstream. Huh. So if you just smoked heroin, you're not going to OD. But if you inject it, and so one of the things that has kept people from dying of heroin, so our rock stars don't usually die of heroin ODs now, is because
They're consuming it in other ways? Or?
They're consuming it in other ways. But the thing is, this new fentanyl stuff ends up being just as dangerous as, think about Michael Jackson, too.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing. Like, you would not classify Prince, who was a guy who he became a Jehovah's Witness, and he was always a very spiritual person. And here's something interesting that when I'm reading about Prince, is that he was raised a Seventh-day Adventist. And we've talked about the Seventh-day Adventists before on the show because the Seventh-day Adventists were part of the group that thought there was going to be a apocalypse in the mid-19th century.
Goodness.
So they thought, and then they just changed the date. So what they kept on doing was that they were like, okay, the apocalypse is going to happen. So if you guys remember a couple of years ago, there was the world's going to end in May. And then, okay, the world didn't end. And then the guy's like, oh, it's going to end in October. And then it didn't end. And then
hit the snooze button again. It's not time.
That particular religious organization just fell apart. Well, that's what the Seventh-day Adventists did in the 19th century.
They were like the boy who cried wolf.
Right. And then they just became, a very kind of hardcore religious sect. But he was raised in that. So there was always a spiritual element to his music. Think about Let's Go Crazy. It starts with, dearly beloved,
right.
We're gathered here today. This thing called life.
Yep.
And Prince becomes a Jehovah's Witness in the early 21st century.
Uh-huh. So how old was he?
Well, if he died at 57 in 2016, that means he's born in 1959.
So later in life.
Yeah. So he's 40-something when he becomes a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
And Jehovah's Witnesses were also an apocalyptic kind of sect.
Okay.
So in the 1920s is when the Jehovah's Witnesses thought the world was going to end. And then it didn't. But the organization didn't change.
Uh-huh.
But what's the interesting thing about the Jehovah's Witness, and we'll get to this because he talks about this in an interview he does, and this is one of the reasons that people think he was murdered.
Whoa.
So Jehovah's Witnesses don't vote. They don't just vote. They don't support political parties. They support governments, but they don't support political parties.
Okay.
They also don't celebrate birthdays. Like if you guys ever had a Jehovah's Witness in class.
Oh, yeah.
It was always like you couldn't sing happy birthday.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even get a birthday treat.
And they wouldn't have birthday parties like everybody else did.
Right.
Like that.
And then also that when they'd come over to your house and deliver their issue of the Watchtower, you would just turn off all the lights and pretend you weren't home. Yeah. And because you didn't want to say no, I'm not interested in the issue of the Watchtower. And
They're always really nice.
Well, they have to be. The Jehovah's Witnesses do the door-to-door preaching. Prince did that in Minneapolis and Los Angeles.
Oh my gosh.
He was really into it. He even told Wendy and Lisa, the original members of the Revolution.
Yeah.
So you guys have seen Purple Rain. Wendy and Lisa, the guitar player and keyboard. Also, Wendy's a lesbian.
Uh-huh.
And so in 2000, she wanted to do a Revolution reunion.
Yeah.
Thought it was about time. And the Prince's career wasn't as hot as it was. Now that he's dead, everybody's like, oh man, Prince. But you got to remember that...
Yeah, he went through the
whole thing. The same thing happened to David Bowie.
Yeah.
David Bowie does oh man, Bowie. Man, David Bowie couldn't even, for a while, he was on tour with Nine Inch Nails and he was the opener.
Yeah, that's
Bowie. And so Prince has this time where he's not a big star. He's not selling a lot of albums. And we'll get to the symbol that I think led to that.
Yeah.
When he changed his name. So Wendy and Lisa want to do a Revolution thing. They think it's going to make some money. It's going to be fun. And Prince is like, well, I'd like to get the band back together. But I want you to denounce your homosexuality. Ooh. And also Wendy's Jewish and say that you're going to convert.
No.
Yeah. And so this is the thing. Right. And so
that's
open-minded guy. But he had a very, he
was very dedicated to the beliefs of his religion.
That was a belief system. Huh. And the thing is, he talks about this. So Tavis Smiley show. Tavis Smiley's the NPR show. Good interviewer. But so he interviews with Tavis Smiley to promote his Lotus Flower album in 2009. Yeah. His Lotus Flower album contains a song called Dreamer.
Okay.
Now, Dreamer is a song that talks about chemtrails.
Chemtrails?
Right.
Ooh, now we're getting into paranormal territory.
Right, so what's the chemtrail? So chemtrail is the idea that, and Prince says it, he's like, I looked up overhead, and I was a kid, and you would see a jet pass by, you'd be like, oh, cool, planes. And then he goes, one day you see several jets pass by, and the trails, the jet stream's a different color. And then people start fighting
and there's
with
a whole
each other.
bunch of them. And then everybody in the neighborhood starts getting angry and fighting. Yeah.
And so it's the idea that the government
or someone
is using these chemicals, and chemtrails is something like coast to coast all the time.
Sure, yeah.
So the idea that these chemicals are into the atmosphere. And so there's people within my family
yeah,
who are into chemtrails.
or against.
Well, they're
As it
against
were.
it. They're paying attention.
But they believe that it's something other than just a jet.
Yeah, they think it changes the
The
weather.
natural. Yeah. Okay.
So what they'll do is they'll list how many jet streams they'll see,
okay.
the color of the jet streams, and then the weather the next day.
Okay.
And it all leads into very Alex Jones-ish
Yeah.
that they're using these chemicals in the atmosphere
Yeah.
to do something to us, to depopulate us. Because the less people you have, they think, you bring the population down, it's easier to control. And then it's easier for the environment and everything. So how do you do it? You kill the plebes. And you kill the plebes through chemicals in the atmosphere. And so when I first found out about this, was Prince killed? Was
Yeah.
it? Members of my family were like, hey, you should check this out. And they're like, they killed Prince for this. And I'm like, what? Prince comes out, he sees this thing, writes a song about chemtrails, song Dreamer
Okay.
on the Lotus Flower album. And he was influenced by a comedian by the name of Dick Gregory.
Okay.
And so Dick Gregory, he just died in like August of 2017.
Oh.
And Dick Gregory was a very famous comedian in the 60s, friends with Hugh Hefner, Chicago-based. Like, he integrated black comedy, like he brought it to a white audience.
Okay.
And so he
So
did a thing
groundbreaking.
like clubs that only used to have white comedians, he would play.
Cool. Wow.
And so he kind of set the standard for comedians. But he also, as he got older, got way into conspiracy theories.
Oh, okay.
The idea that AIDS was created to kill black people.
Oh, wow.
There's an interview where Dick Gregory talks about Prince's death. And he's like, I never met the guy. And we just watched this interview before.
Yeah.
And he did sound like like dementia.
Off the deep end, for sure. Yeah, it was kind of uncomfortable to watch, actually.
It was, because it's like, if you ever seen the movie Bowling for Columbine?
No, I have not seen that one.
Now, I generally think that Michael Moore, whatever you regard for his politics, I generally think of Michael Moore as a pretty effective filmmaker.
Okay.
But he does this interview in Bowling for Columbine with Charlton Heston.
Okay.
When Charlton Heston is obviously hitting Alzheimer's.
Oh,
Okay.
that's difficult.
And so he uses the full interview to make Charlton Heston and the NRA look bad.
Aww.
And, well, I get it, because if you do believe that the NRA is pushing death or whatever, then you are
Sure.
going to use this. And Charlton Heston was its president.
True.
You
Yeah.
know? But at the same time, like, you can tell that Charlton Heston is not trying to say something racist. Charlton Heston marched with Martin Luther King, just like Dick Gregory did. He marched with Martin Luther King. Like,
Yeah.
Charlton Heston was a big civil rights guy. The movie I Am Legend is like a big interracial thing for a time when interracial stuff wasn't in. So Charlton Heston's not a guy that you would say is a racist guy. Like, you might not agree with his stance on guns. Okay. And so Michael Moore made it look like he was saying something racist.
Oh,
when you
I
just
see.
knew that this is an old man with dementia. That's what it reminded me of the Dick Gregory conversation.
okay.
Talking about Prince's death. Because this guy leads him on, and Dick Gregory's talking about how TMZ was interviewing Prince.
Yeah.
And who is TMZ owned by?
Right.
And the guy's like, well, Time Warner. And what was Prince's record label? Warner Brothers. So when Prince changed his name in the 1990s, he changed his name to a symbol. And some people think that symbol, which combines male and female, like the sigil.
Right.
Remember when he
There's
was
some other
remember he was the
elements,
artist
too.
formerly known as Prince?
Yeah, so I totally remember that because
Yeah.
it was everybody was kind of making fun of it back in the day because they're like, oh, can't say his name because it's just a symbol now.
Right. And he tried to change his name because he was trying to get out of a record contract with Warner Brothers.
Oh, okay.
So the idea that Dick Gregory was saying is that those guys, they don't kill him now because revenge is best served cold. They're not interested. Like, the people in power don't kill. And this is, I think, the gist of that kind of crazy YouTube video.
Yeah.
They don't kill you now because it's obvious. They find a way to kill you over the long
Later
term.
on.
They just eliminate you, and then you become a fool or a drug addict or a thing like that.
Boy, that's depressing.
Yeah, the idea, these guys are smart enough that they don't just murder you. They're like the mafia.
Right.
Where they just murder you, take care of you, and they make a point. The idea is they want you out of the way. And that's what's more important. So they kill you in a way that they never get suspected.
A subtle way.
And so Prince changed his name to a symbol so that he could get out of his record contract. And then he writes a thing on his face, like he does a press conference, he writes slave on his cheek. You know, and he even says that. I mean, he says that in the interview with Tavis Smiley where he talks about chemtrails and seeing Dick Gregory's thing, and he was so influenced by it, he had to write a song. He says, he's like, well, we're just all on the plantation now.
That's sad.
And then, but then Tavis Smiley says, like, well, I guess, but, you know, we do have a black president, Barack Obama. And Prince is like, well, I don't have a horse in that race. I'm a Jehovah's Witness. We don't vote. He sounds so separate from reality at that point when he says that. You know, he's just like, well, I don't have a horse in that race. Like,
no comment.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting because that wasn't even be a popular thing to say in 2009.
Right. Yeah.
Like politically popular thing to say.
True. Yeah, it would have been just easy enough to.
But there's several places on the internet that said so Alex Jones, InfoWars, made the video saying that the chemtrails made the people in power want to kill him. But other people have posited that the Illuminati wanted to kill him because he fought against the big corporations. That he was the one who was striking the first blow against big record labels, Warner Brothers, saying, you know, I'm a slave, I'm on the plantation. You know, he even says in a thing from maybe 2015, you read a quote of his, he goes, I would tell new artists, do not sign to a record label. I'll use the word, it's slavery.
Wow.
He's like, I'll use the word.
Yeah.
Like that's, he kind of says that. So that's what people think.
Yeah.
That like he was murdered and it was made to look like it was a opioid overdose.
Wow. Well, that's
You know, and the funny thing that even the symbol though, like when people talk about, you know, Prince is a guy that uses symbolism.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, obviously he uses many words for female body parts in all of his songs. Like he's not afraid of that symbolism whatsoever. So when I saw him at Paisley Park, he played with his band Third Eye Girl. And the Third Eye Girl album
that was
cover,
his most recent project that he was working on, right?
And so Prince was always a guy that he would take young women, young female artists, and he would like make their career. He wrote Manic Monday for the Bangles. He wrote Sex Shooter for like Vanity Six.
Nice.
Apollonia, who starred in Purple Rain. Like he would take the Sinead O'Connor. The reason we know who Sinead O'Connor is because of Prince.
Oh, such a great song too.
Right, and his version's great too. Like it's, you know,
it's a great song.
It's nothing. She really does have a soulful.
She delivered it. Yeah,
but Prince does a great job himself.
Yes, as he does.
That's when I started to actually appreciate it. Was when I heard the Prince version. I was like, oh man.
Yeah. He's.
That's when I learned how to play it. I was like, I wanted to, because I'm like, okay, this a guy can sing this song. It can be just as great. But his Third Eye Girl is, you know, Prince, like a Jimi Hendrix afro, and he's wearing John Lennon glasses, and he's got an extra lens, an extra, you know, an eyepiece to represent the third eye.
Sure.
Now, the third eye in, you know, like traditional metaphysical stuff is the eye that looks inside.
Right.
It's the eye that sees your soul. It's the eye that sees the things that you're...
The all-seeing eye?
Well, that's another Illuminati thing.
All right.
But so the band Third Eye Blind that Wendy and I just opened for, you know, a couple months ago. So Third Eye, the idea was that when the singer Stephen Jenkins was all hopped up in the crystal meth, he was third eye blind because he could not see inside. He was not taking care of himself or his soul because he was just taking care of his getting physical pleasure,
right?
Like getting, you know. And so Prince uses that with his Third Eye Girl band, and you know uses that in all the symbolism and everything. But so when he created that sigil though, with a male symbol and a female symbol mixed,
and he had the guitar and everything that was the same shape.
Yeah,
so cool looking.
And you know, actually, full disclosure, Ben and I play Hoyer guitars, and that company is actually not in business anymore. But Hoyer guitars, the designer who designed all the Hoyer guitars is this that Ben and I play, and we were sponsored by their company. Designed Prince's,
it's amazing
sigil guitar,
beautiful piece of work.
Yeah, I mean the Hoyer guitars are pretty cool, but Prince's guitar is obviously the best. So Prince's symbol, like he uses this thing that some people say has a cult value, and they're trying to compare it to how on Led Zeppelin 4, Jimmy Page he uses a Zoso, like all these symbols, and then on the album of Led Zeppelin 4, the one that contains Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
The artists, like so Robert Plant and John Bonham and John Paul Jones and Jimmy Page aren't mentioned. They're just represented by symbols. So because Jimmy Page was so into the occult, they're like, well, Jimmy Page did this, and this is Prince's example of fulfilling his satanic destiny. So, I mean, before people thought that Prince was murdered by the Illuminati, they thought he was a tool of the Illuminati, or part of it. When really, you read this interview with the guy that created the symbol for Prince, and Prince is just like, I
need something.
I want to quit. I need a symbol. And he loved the idea, and this is what I think is interesting. He loves the idea that male and female meet because he was working on the career of two girls at the time. One was Mate with a Y, M-A-Y-T-E, who he eventually married. They had a miscarriage. Like, it all ended up horrible, and it was really sad. Like,
Super sad.
This prince has no children.
Yeah.
But he did have children that passed away. So that's very sad for him and his wife. And the other girl he was grooming at the time to make a star ended up being Carmen Electra.
Whoa.
Yeah. So Carmen Electra was just a backup dancer in his band, and then he was trying to make her into like an Apollonia or a Vanity or a... Carmen Electra might be very sexy, but she doesn't have the singing chops of like Sinead O'Connor or something like that, so that wasn't going anywhere. But I just thought that was interesting because I didn't even realize that Carmen Electra had a connection.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
And he was excited. He was like, oh, yeah, make the male and female because I'm grooming these girls.
Right.
And so the idea that he used it for some kind of mystical thing, no, he was just he needed a symbol.
Yeah.
It looked cool. He always was a gender bender.
Yeah, and I mean, I got to say, the artist who came up with that, it is really cool looking because it's, I don't know, it's just very
awesome
nice. It's nicely balanced, and it's got, the straight lines and the curvy lines, and it's just cool.
And there's other things that make people think that the death of Prince was a murder. One is that in 2008, Simpsons, Homer is tasked by members of the entertainment industry to murder Prince.
Oh!
Because Prince was speaking out against record labels.
Oh, man.
So there's an episode of The Simpsons in 2008 where Homer is supposed to kill Prince. That his job, like he's given the gun to kill Prince. Like, somebody on Facebook in 2012, and this is something that went viral. April 21st, 2012, this guy named Mikel Giussiani writes, Prince will die 4 years from today.
What?
Yeah. And so the thing is, this guy's account doesn't exist anymore. So this guy deleted his account. So it's all gone. But there's these screen captures of this guy writing, Prince will die 4 years from today. On April 21st,
I'm suspicious of that.
Of course, that is totally suspicious. Like, people create fake...
A screen capture is
people
easy
create
to mimic.
Facebook conversations between Captain America and Iron Man, so they can do whatever they want,
Well, you can also predict anything on Twitter. You just, every day, you say, this is going to happen, and then when it actually happens, you delete every day except for the...
Right.
Yeah.
So that happens. There's a guy on Twitter named Young Chris, Taylor, Michigan, writes... November 15th, 2016. I'm sorry, April 15th. Now, this is the day, though, that Prince goes down in Moline, Illinois.
Yeah.
The plane has to...
Tax day.
Has to do an emergency. And he says $100 says Prince dies in the next 2 weeks. So he gets it right. But, I mean, that doesn't mean anything. But it's still creepy that people were saying that.
Yeah.
But also, Prince's last Instagram post is like a picture of him that says, just when you thought you were safe.
Wait, that's it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
What does that mean?
Yeah, that's...
Just when you thought you were safe.
That's cryptic.
Does it mean that, like, I take it, like, if I had read it, I'd be like, Prince is going to have sex with you. Like, just when you thought you were safe, this 57-year-old man
I was thinking, like...
going to have sex with you.
No, I was thinking, like, he's going to release a new album or something, like, have it be kind of a media blitz thing, or I don't know.
Sure. But it's still a weird thing that, like, your
That's
last
a very
Instagram
odd thing
post
to
before
say.
you die is just when you thought you were safe.
All right, that's ominous.
Yeah. So, was Prince murdered? I don't know.
I hope not.
Well, so if you watch the Super Bowl, and this is going back to
this year's Super Bowl, so 2018.
Justin Timberlake, and this is actually, we were supposed to get to this like 40 minutes ago. But
yeah.
So if you watch this year's Super Bowl, you'd see that it was done in Minneapolis.
Yes.
Obviously, the new U.S. Bank Stadium. And I was living right across from it when it was being built.
Oh,
and I used to run around it and stuff. And it's obviously majestic. It's not too far away from several very haunted places.
Ooh.
So if you guys visit Minneapolis, make sure... well, there's actually a ghost story that we talk about from the construction.
Wait. Where do you talk about that ghost story?
We talk about it on Minneapolis Ghost Walks.
Oh.
And so downtown Minneapolis is where the U.S. Bank Stadium is and where the Super Bowl happened. And there's a whole bunch of ghost stories right next door.
Wow.
There's ghost stories in the old Minneapolis Dome.
Yeah.
So we talk about that. MinneapolisGhostWalks.com is where you can check that out.
In the summertime.
Right. It's not happening right now because it's like 4 degrees in Minneapolis
it's probably
tonight.
below zero.
It's 12 degrees in Menominee Falls tonight. So it's cold. It's cold.
It's chilly.
And so Justin Timberlake's singing, and then they have they were like, were they going to bring out a hologram of Prince or whatever? And so that was the rumor. It ended up being
It's a projection on a sheet that was hanging kind of.
like a sheet that was blown. I mean,
it was pretty
awesome.
I thought it was cool.
And it was a nice little honor. Like, I didn't think it was in bad taste
No.
or anything like that. Like, it's the man gave us music. We should still enjoy.
And it's his home city, and it meant so much to him, and he meant so much to that city. To omit him from that performance would have been
right.
inappropriate. So,
So I mean, Prince lived he lived in different places, but he always kept the home
was his
Minneapolis.
place.
He lived in Los Angeles, but he always kept the home Minneapolis, and he always made it his home, and he always felt connected to it.
Right.
And so he wasn't a transplant. He was somebody that like the most talented guy in the world stuck by his hometown. And so I thought it was cool that
I did too.
The first Super Bowl they have in Minneapolis at the U.S. Bank Stadium involved Prince. He also made the news this week because Quincy Jones did an interview.
Oh.
Now, Quincy Jones is the producer of Thriller.
I know the whole dance.
Yes, Wendy knows the dance.
And I will do it upon request.
I mean, Quincy Jones is also the producer of the Will Smith Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
So many things.
He says that he didn't start making really real money until he did television, which I thought was interesting.
Wow, because he's so talented.
And he's arranged things. I mean, he used to hang out with Frank Sinatra, hang out with Marlon Brando. Like he hung out with everybody famous for the past. He's 85 years old, and
what?
So he's
that old?
He's doing press this week because he has a Netflix special.
I didn't know he was that old.
And he's got all these things coming out. I mean, he's been famous since he's been like 20 years old.
Yeah, true. He's got a prolific
and he's the
career.
father of Rashida Jones, who is my secret girlfriend.
Secret's out now, Mike.
Secret's out now. Rashida Jones. I just love Rashida Jones. But obviously the man is a musician that knows a ton of instruments, arrangement. He's just gifted.
Production.
But the thing is, he's obviously best friends with Michael Jackson. So there's this video of 1983. Michael Jackson's obviously top of the world. Prince, top of the world.
Yeah.
There's a James Brown show in Los Angeles. James Brown invites Michael up to sing a little bit.
How amazing would that be?
Right. Following Michael Jackson, he invites Prince to come.
My
So he had a
goodness.
James Brown show with Michael Jackson and Prince. Get out of town. Get out of town. I'm out of town. But that's funny. Because the thing is, because Prince had that, ow! He just would throw into things, just like James Brown. Ha! So
Totally. The hot tub.
Too hot in the hot tub. That's a Eddie Murphy sketch, if you guys don't get it, when Eddie Murphy was funny. So Michael Jackson comes up, kills it. Prince comes up, plays guitar, rips his shirt off, sings. He doesn't have it. He just had an off night.
Oh, no.
He just had an off night. But he was so mad that Michael Jackson told Quincy Jones that Prince told his limo driver, Prince's limo driver, to run over Michael and LaToya after the show.
No, he wouldn't do that.
I don't think he would either, but that's what Quincy Jones said.
That's what Michael Jackson thought.
Michael Jackson believed that Prince was trying to murder him. That he was so jealous, such a competitor.
That's a story.
He was like, I can't top you on stage.
Oh my goodness.
I will kill you.
Sorry, it's just... I don't know. I feel like something has to maybe have been lost in translation.
Quincy Jones also said in that same interview that Marlon Brando boned Richard Pryor.
Oh, stop it.
Can you imagine Marlon Brando sneaking up on you?
No. Okay, let's get back
I've
on
seen
track
Last
here.
Tango in Paris, so I know how this ends. Speaking of ends.
Prince.
Anyway, Prince. What a brilliant guy. Now, he certainly thought there was something amiss with the chemtrail. I mean, something that Dick Gregory said, who's been a conspiracy theorist, really resonated with him. And Prince fought the system. He fought the system so hard. He was going to be ridiculed.
And bless his heart for it.
Ridiculed for years.
I know.
Well, the artist formerly known. And everybody said that, like,
yeah.
Nobody said that because they loved Prince. They said that the artist formerly, with, like...
But, I mean, to be fair, back then, most of us didn't know that was why he was doing it. At least I certainly didn't.
Once I saw the news conference, I was like 18 or 19 when the news conference came. Once I saw the news conference with the slave written on his face, like he explained it then.
See, I don't remember that at all. So I just remember like, wow, he's one of those eccentric, artist people.
And the thing is, like, you think about Prince's like 1988 album, Love Sexy, and he's buck naked on it, and he's got his leg like right in front of his junk, so you don't see all the goods. You don't see the princely,
the jewels, the family jewels.
You don't see the crown jewels.
Oh no!
So you don't see it, and so you're sitting there, and I remember looking at that like, what? Oh my god! Like, this guy is really a madman.
That's wild.
So that's what you think. So the thing is, okay, was Prince murdered? Probably not.
Hope not.
It just. I mean, painkillers from years of dancing, wearing heels. He's a little guy, doesn't have big legs or anything like that, and he's dancing all the time.
Well, and those tours.
Right.
Those tours are like, we know, we've seen so many artists go through the pressure and it's not healthy.
Well, I mean,
the sleep and so much exertion.
The football players, I mean, the thing is, Brett Favre was a drug addict. And in Wisconsin, people are like, oh, well, Brett Favre, he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing.
Exactly.
And if somebody would have snuck Brett Favre fentanyl, he'd be dead too.
True.
So Prince got the wrong stuff and died.
And it's so sad.
And was he killed by the Illuminati, who just were cold SOBs and tried to kill him years after he fought the system?
Gosh.
I don't think so, because he already was, before he died, I mean, Prince was cool. He was on The New Girl, his halftime show. But people weren't like, oh yeah, well, I listen to Prince for everyday advice.
Yeah, that's true.
So did they kill him? My verdict is, no. I think it's bad luck and little hips and just, trying to keep up with pain.
So tragic.
Trying to keep up with
sad.
pain as an old man. Yeah. He's trying to still be 1999 Prince as a 57-year-old man.
Right, well...
And it makes me sad because he was such a talented guy, and I loved it. I loved every little bit. And so, Prince, wherever you are, good luck to you. If you're in Jehovah's Witness heaven, I hope you're having a great time. So I'm pouring out this little bit of Naked Grape Cabernet Sauvignon that Wendy and I are enjoying boxed wine tonight. To you, my brother, and I hope you have a good wherever you are. And so this is a song that we actually learned right after Prince passed away, and we always play it in our acoustic show, and it always hits. So we're going to play it today. Don't worry. I know Prince was a stickler about the rights. So we paid for the Harry Fox Agency sync rights to one of my favorite Prince songs, Delirious.
Whenever you're near, lose all self-control, baby, just can't steer. Wheels get locked in place, stupid look on my face. Comes to making a pass, pretty mama, I just can't win the race, and I get delirious. 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 I get delirious when you hold my hand. Body gets so weak it can hardly stand. Temperature's running hot, baby, you got to stop. 'Cause if you don't, I'm gonna explode. And girl, I got a lot, and I get delirious. 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 I get delirious whenever you're near. Girl, you gotta take control, 'cause I just can't steer. You're just too much to take. I can't stop, I ain't got no brakes. So girl, you gotta take me
you for listening to today's episode. You can find us online at OthersidePodcast.com. Until next time, see you on the other side.
Patreons, I'm excited to catch up with you because January went by so fast that our January hangout date just came and went. So we're having 2 of them in February.
That's
and the
right.
first of this 2-part series, the first act in this 2-act production, if you will, is going to be this Thursday, February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. Aww.
That's nice.
It's so special.
Oh, so here's the thing. Also, if you are a new subscriber to the email list, you get an invite to the Hangout as well.
Ooh.
So anybody that subscribes to the email list this week, make sure you check your email because you get an invite to the Hangout, and you can come and check it out, even without being a Patreon. But you'd be cooler if you were.
Yes, and you just get that one chance.
So anyway, just want to say looking forward to hanging out with everybody this weekend. Dr. Ned, you're the best. And everybody else, we'll see you on the other side. Too hot in the hot tub.